Despite all the tutorials and courses out there, learning Python has been challenging for a lot of people. Look at this. Everybody is asking in 2025, where do you even begin? Is there any recommended courses? The problem is not with one of the courses or the materials that's out there. The problem is a lot more fundamental. Imagine a world where you can understand Python just like English. While a part of it comes from consistent practice, another part comes from understanding the underlying design patterns of a programming language itself. What do I mean by that? Let me show you. To show this, I have a very simple CSV file that looks like this. Now I'm going to use pandas from Python. I've already installed this, so you don't have to do it again. And I'm going to read a data frame or the CSV file from data/temp.csv. Now to this data frame, you can print it or you can also find its shape. Let's run the script first. As you can see, you have the data frame displayed here and you have the size of the data frame also displayed here. That's not the goal of this video. If we were to write our own pandas library, how would that look? Like I said, if I change it to own pandas, will everything else work the same? It will not. But how can we write this own pandas library in our system such that all of this will work? Now, if you see here, own pandas is a library, which means it's a Python file, and we're importing that as PD. And pd.readcsv is a function, which means own pandas, a Python file, should have this function called readcsv. And to this, we are passing one parameter, which is a file path. So let's take that file path as an input. And this is supposed to return something called as df, which is a data frame object. We don't know what that is yet, so let's just return, right? And let's run this. Now, from saying that the module doesn't have an own pandas read CSV function, it has gone to saying df doesn't have shape because it's of type none, which means we are sending none here. That's why it's saying none type doesn't have attribute shape. So how do we create a return type? Let's go back to this 1 second. As you can see, the read CSV function has a lot more parameters than just file path. And the return type of it, if you go all the way down, is a data frame. And that's what we refer by df. In ownpandas, I add a class called data frame, and I'm not going to give it any parameter now. I'm just going to return a data frame object. Now it's saying data frame is an object doesn't have shape. Previously it was none, now it's data frame. Let's give this a shape object, which is none. Shape attribute, that's none. So now we have something, but it's not the same as the original output. Now let's go ahead and keep writing cases such that we get this output. I'm going to keep this here and work on a parallel terminal so that we can have this parallelly. First, we need some way to store the data, which means we're also reading the data. So to read the data from this file, I'm going to open the file from file path, read it as a file pointer, and we're going to read the lines, and then we are going to construct this data, and we can pass it to the data frame. Let's take one step at a time. Here I'm reading all the lines, and I'm taking each line and constructing a list, and here I get the data, and I pass this data to the data frame, and I have to persist this data in the data frame. So I will create an init method to which I'll pass the self and the data. Self.data is data, and self.shape will be len of data of 0 and len of data of 0, comma 1, 0 of 1. We had a bunch of data here. Let's also print the data to see what's happening, and then we'll construct this. So here we are reading each and every line and constructing this list of lists. And that's how we are going to persist our data. One more thing you have to notice is here these are nicely given as headers. So let's also consider that somehow we have to tell the own pandas that there is a header in this file. In the original read CSV, there is a parameter called header or has header, something like that, which can be set to true by default, which means the first line has to be persisted as the header, right? So let's persist this as header, and to the data frame we'll pass both the data and the header. Now don't worry about the logic, just see how I am constructing this one step at a time. Header can be none, of course, self dot header equal to header. Now let's remove this. Now I have a data frame with data, header, and its shape. Next, there is a little segue. As you can see, it still has this weird thing, and it's still 3 comma 1, which I'm very suspicious of. It should be 3 comma 6, sorry, 6 comma 3. Why is that happening? We'll find out in a bit. It should be len of data. So that's taken care of, and then data of 0. Right? That should be it. That works. As you can see, it's 7 comma 3. But since we have the header, it shouldn't be taken into account, but it is. For that, we have to do something like this. Header of 0, and then we can start reading from 1 over here. It's 6 comma 3. Next, what we can do is we can add a representation class that will give us this nice printing segue. If header, actually if self.header, let's print the header first, right? And again, it has to be self.header. And if the data, we can also print the row. So let's print this. At least some clarity, it's not so close to this. I will also do something like this, space dot join of row, so that it's not printed as a list. As you can see, it's not printed as a list. At this point, I'm pretty comfortable with the output that he has given. So to recap, we have started with using default pandas and replicating that behavior in our own pandas library by hacking this whole thing out. When you get really, really comfortable with Python, you can go through a script and see what is a function, what is its parameters, what is it returning, when it's returning something, what are the attributes of that particular object, all of this. And that's what I mean by depths of Python.